Hey everyone, there's a lot of times where I see a meme or picture online that I have no idea what's it about. And I don't really have the burning interest or patience to look up every small detail about it. But I'm glad that today, I got to learn about the full history behind Megan Hall, which most of you probably know from that one picture, was he has that massive uncanny smile, where from today, it's going to become a lot funnier to me, now knowing the full reason why he was on the internet spotlight for so long. And I have to say now, I had no way to even guess what happened with her having private relationships with 8 different guys in her police department. The fact that they were also officers makes it more unbelievable to me, including all the scenarios they were in while on duty.
One of the most interesting phenomena I often will see online is that of a private citizen going viral despite having no social media presence for themselves. We live in a world where millions are so desperate to get famous that when a person stumbles into the limelight, it's a novel sight.
I'm Tickle Red!
And this gets
God bless that man. You should have like a huge monument built just to him, and then tore down after 50 years.
When caught in a situation such as this. Well, that's a tough one to give a definitive answer on, but I think a good case study of this exact situation would be that of the female police officer.
I just realized this entire time that I've seen this picture for like a lot of years, for like 20 years, I've always been so fixated on her like baby face. I never realized like how buck teeth these two are.
That went viral
They're massive.
on her husband with multiple different men at her police unit. While we all saw the memes, as the story progressed, the details became increasingly muddy, making me and one of my writers want to go back and see what exactly happened to cause a local news story to have a lasting impact in the greater online landscape. To begin this story, I think it needs to be pointed out that the police have faced an increased level of scrutiny on the World Wide Web. While this kind of critical review extends to many sectors of public service, scandals that unfold within these departments tend to be far more damaging. And in January 2023, a story emerged from Laverne, Tennessee that cast a whole new light on the internal antics of the local force. This account is centered around Megan Hall, a 26-year-old cop who was fired from her small department.
She's 20, she looks way younger than 26, like 20. Because I know there are people who join the police force like at a really young age.
Investigation in December 2022 resulted in Hall, Sergeant Lewis Powell, Sergeant Ty McGowan, Detective Seneca Shields, and Officer Juan Lugo being let go from the department. While the 2 other men who were
to me it's surprising because I've seen this meme like float around a bit like in the past. And because he was a cop, I saw it was like referring to an incident where like she shot like a black guy. But now with this more like breadcrumb of like context, I really want to know how it's gonna end up.
Patrick Magliocco and Larry Holiday only faced suspensions. As the investigation was underway, multiple other officers were also intimately linked to Megan, although many of these claims later turned out to be false. The scandal was brought to light after Laverne's mayor received a tip that Hall was engaging in extramarital affairs with several other cops, prompting the investigation.
It's probably something like just like scrawny little white guy being like, she's not f***ing me, I'm a reporter.
Placed mostly in private locations such as hotels and other officers' houses. But several on-duty hookups were also uncovered, including within the police station itself. This added an extra layer of embarrassment to the story. Not only were the officers hiding their affairs, but they were at times apparently prioritizing them above their work. When the investigation began, spearheaded by HR Director Andrew Patton, Officer Magliocco was the first to be questioned. He admitted to having sex with Hall on numerous occasions, and from there the story started.
If he broke right after they questioned him, you could tell he wanted to like brag about like, yeah, we in the evidence room, yeah, we know.
Magliocco said that Hall spoke openly about her relationship with other officers, and that she had kissed his own wife at a party after learning that they had an open marriage. The officer also mentioned that Hall's own husband, Jedediah, had seen the kiss and was not on board with her engagement.
Oh my god, if my husband saw Jedediah, I'd probably cheat on him too. But let's say cuckold, I swear the cuckold really wasn't on board. I wish this word was like in bold and like italic. His wife having a threesome with the Magilocos, however you say their name, but she continued having a relationship with him, said investigators. Oh my god. You hooked me in with her 8 black guys, and now you got the cuckold story that's making me stay put.
Her engaging in a relationship with the Magliocos. Despite the details of the escapade and his alleged perspective on them, Jedediah Hall continued to stand by his wife in the fallout of the report. As public speculation around the scandal started to increase, many were quick to make both of the Halls into punchlines. But no real insight into their relationship was given until after the dust had settled. Sergeant Powell was the next to be questioned, in particular about the claim that he had engaged in sex acts with Hall on duty in the police gym. Powell initially denied that anything had taken place between them, and deflected by naming Holliday and McGowan to investigators, claiming that everyone knew about Hall's multiple partners. When proof emerged that he had lied about being in the gym with her, Powell did admit to the affair in a follow-up interview, which led to a domestic disturbance with his own wife shortly afterward. Powell told officials that upon learning about his relationship with Hall, his wife, quote, beat the shit out of him, and he feared that he'd, quote, most likely lose his children after the affair came to light. Powell would continue to be the most outspoken officer against Megan as the scandal unfolded. In their subsequent interviews, Officer Holliday admitted to having sex with Hall multiple times, while McGowan revealed that he once went to Hall's house with another woman and exposed his genitals. When Hall herself was questioned, she initially denied the affairs outright. But like her former co-workers, she later caved and revealed the intimate details of the encounters, which included hooking up with Officer Lugo at a motel after they met at a go-kart center. When he was interviewed, Lugo...
There are a lot of chemicals at a go-kart center that would make people ravenously...
Interrogation. Detective Shields pulled a Bill Clinton by first saying, I have never had sex with Megan Hall, and then admitting that she had performed oral sex on him while they were both on duty when he was pressed for more information. It was clear that the officers...
that has to be a dream. Getting your dick sucked while in the police officer car.
Everyone's stories started to line up. But the more details that were revealed, the more complicated the story became, particularly in regard to Megan's place in it. You see, during his interview, Magliocco also shared that he had become concerned about her mental health and heavy drinking, which was sometimes even paired with driving. Although it was never confirmed if any of this particular behavior occurred while she was on duty. Magliocco highlighted one instance where Hall held an empty gun to her temple and pulled the trigger to, quote, hear what it sounded like. During the internal interviews, Hall admitted that she had...
She looks like the happiest person in every picture with a huge smile, but oh my god.
...became involved. She described her actions as stupid and desperate, and while the pressure of the affairs had pushed her this far, having everything be revealed to the public was likely not the relief she was looking for. One event that reinforced the complicated nature of the situation was a Memorial Day party in a boathouse owned by another officer, which was mentioned repeatedly in the report. At one point during this party, an intoxicated Hall was in a hot tub with Magliocco, who was reportedly force-feeding her vodka. During this time, her top came off, and other cops quickly intervened to stop the woman from drinking and help her cover up, in what eyewitnesses called a move to protect her. Several officers had brought their children to this party, and it was perhaps the first time that the uncomfortable reality of the situation was brought into the public view. In the wake of the affairs,
I am making quite a lot of fun of her, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure the guys that she is like being hooked up with, these aren't like pieces of as well. If he was willing to like force her to drink vodka, at which point I'm pretty sure he said that she was already drunk, so I don't see why you would want to like force feed her more vodka to get more drunk. I just want you to know, like, did her top off come off like naturally, or like if the first guy was willing to like force her to drink vodka, he might have been like, you know, a little bit ripped it off. I don't know.
Dismissed for violating police procedure and lying during the investigation, along with McGowan, who had also been witnessed choking a human resources employee on a separate occasion. It was further revealed
that he knows what he's doing. Hell yeah.
Had shared lewd text messages and pornographic images of themselves, which added the issue of sexual harassment and, in the eyes of the law, further proved that these officers could not be trusted to maintain professionalism in their workplace. But
they should be trusted with a gun, absolutely.
Davis was also fired after reportedly impeding the investigation that had brought the scandal to light. Davis denied all knowledge of the affairs, although it certainly would have been in the department's best interest, at least publicly, to keep the details under wraps. But once Pandora's box was opened, there was no coming back. Unsurprisingly, Megan's story quickly spread across the internet, with her face becoming a meme shorthand for promiscuity almost overnight.
Nah, that's messed up. Did they add the dogs, implying that she also did it with them? Nah, come on. Nah.
with onlookers relentlessly poking fun at her actions. Even the Memorial Day party was soon almost universally referred to as a Girls Gone Wild event in the tabloid press. Despite this, though, there were many who took issue with this framing. Instead,
I really want to. I want to know like what he sounds like, because he sounds like a. She looks like he would sound like an annoying girl, but it'd be funny if she has like a really deep voice. I don't know.
Girls even offered the former officer $10,000 in exchange for performing 2 shows, which was never accepted. It was clear that Hall's image had been irrevocably damaged in the public eye. But even as the jokes continued to flow, her side of the story would not be revealed for another month. In late February, Hall filed a federal complaint against her former department, claiming that she had been, quote, sexually groomed into the affairs with her fellow officers. In the complaint, she cited the origin of the sexual escapades as stemming from the stress of buying a home with her husbands, a process that was placing great strain on their marriage.
If I bought a house, I would immediately go to my workplace and suck everyone there. But once I kind of feel bad for her, because you can tell like when people when this kind of drama is just thrown out into the public, they have their back up against the wall and they have to make up like any excuse they can. Of course, there'll probably be some more issue with like the relationship, but she's not gonna mention that because that's hard to sympathize with. I mean, it's not, but on the tabloids and the news, a more direct excuse gets people attention better. So I can see why she'd have to like glamorize the story, I guess, the reason.
Sergeant Powell about her struggles, both personally and professionally. As Hall tells it, Powell soon started to make lewd requests, which she rejected at first, but eventually caved to under the mounting pressure she was facing on multiple fronts.
Don't you know, whenever this kind of like scandal happens, who do they get to like investigate it? Is it people from other towns or cities to come like check what's going on?
Hall's colleagues and supervisors allegedly colluding to abuse their authority and keep her trapped in a situation that presented no clear escape. They even reportedly shared tips on the best ways to manipulate her. And this overwhelming situation, along with her history of mental illness, pushed Hall to the point where she even considered suicide as a way to avoid the embarrassment of the situation. If we take her word at face value, it seemed that the unstable behavior that was pointed out by Magliocco was not an explanation for the affairs, but rather a result of her mounting fear that there was no way to escape them. In subsequent interviews, Hall claimed that while many people in the public had dismissively said that she could have just said no to the sexual advancements of her coworkers, they would not take no for an answer. While Megan's story did turn some of the onlookers to her side, many just continued posting memes. Even former Chief Davis had a reportedly larger role in the affairs by not only repressing the investigation against them, but also actively encouraging the culture they had created within the department. As Hall tells it, Davis had once asked her to come into his office to dance for him, and tried to get her to agree to lunch dates, which was likely a tactic to start an affair with her himself. Later, it was reported that the disgraced chief had also received nude photos of Hall on a burner phone, which put an end to his claims that he had no knowledge of the situation that was unfolding in his former department. Powell fired back with a counterclaim, alleging that Hall had been the one to initiate their affair after making several sexual suggestive comments to him at work, and insulting him when he turned her down. But with
it blows my mind how many like back and forths there are in this story, where when someone gets like questioned, they immediately throw in a new piece of information that makes the other. But it's like a chain reaction where someone says something and then they have to like refute it, and it just keeps on going back and forth.
I felt like I'd been terrorized.
As for why this story blew up and lingered online, I think firstly, it's because of the outrageousness of all of it. Secondly, the fact that the woman involved wasn't conventionally attractive made it more humorous to many. And considering she had sex on the job as a police officer and committed adultery, made the left-leaning sex positivity crowd mostly unsympathetic to her plight. Hall's lawsuit, which names several of her former co-workers and the city of Laverne itself, seeks damages for lost wages, emotional distress, and reputational harm, which is arguably impossible to overcome.
With 6 people, maybe even 5 people involved, that's going to be like a huge case.
This development is that this woman will completely renew her 15 minutes of fame once the trial begins, as everyone's dirty laundry will be aired at length. And not only that, but this time everyone involved will be under oath. having to give up the graphic details of their affairs as they flesh out the already dysfunctional mess of the public spectacle. The trial date is currently set for March 18th, 2025, and until then, there is no way to know which side of the story will be accepted as the truth. At this point, Megan Hall is still primarily a punchline, although one that has faded from the public eye, and will likely stay out of it until the trial brings her name back to the headlines.
Yeah, that's in 2025, that's 1 year. I wonder now. The funny thing is that if it was just one person that she went out with, it would probably be a way shorter case. But the fact that there was so many people in the department involved probably makes it 10 times harder to communicate what's going on. And even though he said 2025, I feel like that's gonna cause more and more court dates and cases to open from other people, from what he said about them being emotionally distraught from the whole affair. So deep down, I really feel like this is one of those cases that's gonna last for a decade, and the only time it's gonna be the full end of it with every single person either being satisfied or having their own conclusion. I'm probably gonna be an old man being oh my, that was so long ago, I really don't care what happens now. I guess in terms of the department, they're gonna have to get new people, because there's no way they can have everyone work as an officer if they all have to go to court. They probably have a new group of people coming in, because at the same time, there's no way people could work properly as a department, I guess you could say, if they all have drama shared between each other. The last thing I feel I took away from this is that stuff like this probably happens way more often than it seems. But this was the one situation where people involved got caught, and now it just got spread over the news, which isn't that surprising, because whenever the news has one tiny bit of information that seems somewhat entertaining or interesting to know about, they will just rush in to make the information way bigger to make it seem more grand, I guess, and just get everyone's statement. But despite that, I am so excited to get the news of what happens next, and whenever the case ends in a decade or two. Hell yeah.